There we are. We're both rocking there.
Yeah, that was a bit jittery that time, Ronnie.
Yeah, I don't know why.
We've been let down by our intro.
Dear,
for the first time. No,
we don't want to do it again. No, we've got to carry on.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to. This is the fifth one, isn't it, Ronnie?
Number 5, yeah, already. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So hello to Bernie V, Johnny, Lyra in the house, the spiritual vegan, and Deb so far. So welcome along. And on this other screen, the vegan cannibal. Yeah. So this is going out from the Vegan, of course, media network platform company, whatever we're going to be eventually calling it. So it's going out to 8 different locations. So if you're tuning in and you're not on the Vegan, of course, YouTube channel, then sometime just pop over there. You could just open up a new tab just to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, because that's usually where the main chat goes on anyway. So if you want to be involved with the chat, so that's the place to go. So that's the Vegan, of course, YouTube channel. That's the best place to be in terms of chatting with everybody, because that's where most people tune into. It's also on Ronnie's Facebook, my YouTube, and elsewhere, the Vegan Review. So it's all over the place, but it does kind of split the audience up a little bit. And so if we can come together on Vegan, of course, that will be a good thing, even if it's only for just in time, just to subscribe and then go back to Facebook or wherever your preferences are. So, Ronnie, this is we're planning this to be a very positive, encouraging session, and it's about forms of outreach that we've either done or we've seen done or we've been involved with, and we've called it Beyond the Screens. But that's not suggesting there's anything wrong with the screens. We're just trying to come up with things which are complementary or an alternative to it, and especially possibly for people. We were watching Sky's Sunday School yesterday, and the issue of quiet vegans came up. The people who were a little bit shy, maybe they don't particularly want to talk about their veganism, or they will if they're asked. And so we might be coming up with some ideas that will even allow people who call themselves quiet vegans to be active. So that's the kind of idea, really, isn't it? So, Ronnie, are you still there? Are you still alive, mate?
I'm still there. I was attentively listening to you, Roger. As
always. Were you? Okay, well, that makes a change. So I was wondering why it was all quiet, and I was thinking,
no.
Wrong. I was thinking, Ronnie's not still alive.
Well, you never know, do you? That would be great. It would be like, who was it died on stage?
Tommy Cooper.
Tommy Cooper, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it's probably not a bad place.
Well, a lot of comedians have died on stage, sometimes multiple times.
I think Eric Morecambe died. He died during the performance, didn't he? I think Eric Morecambe.
I'm not sure.
I think he did. Yeah.
Not quite sure if the people in the States will know who both.
They probably don't. These are comedians here in the UK. 2 comedians that have quite, deceased.
Talking of still alive, do you remember when you had your 70th birthday, Ronnie?
Well, just about.
We had a bit of a party for you, didn't we? Remember that?
We had an online party, didn't it? Because it was the lockdown. Yeah.
Have a watch of this. This is a trip down memory lane for you.
All right.
Please be seated. Now, members of the jury, this is a most difficult case. It's been alleged that Ronald Farquhar, Fatang, Biscuit Barrel, Screaming Lord Such Lee, has been known to have a good sense of humour and not be afraid to use it. Only you, ladies and gentlemen, will be the judge of the veracity of these claims. So, Dock Officer, call the accused.
You miss your profession, Roger. But that wasn't on the 70th birthday thing. I think that was the first episode of the Jailhouse Vegans series, wasn't it?
Oh, I got that wrong today. Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Right. If people want to check it out on YouTube, I think it's on Roger's YouTube.
We've got a Jailhouse Vegans.
We did a comedy series called Jailhouse Vegans to all about the humorous things that happen to us in prison, really.
Well, and you've still got your sense of humor. That's the main thing, Ronnie.
Hopefully. But if people want to check it out, and it was to raise money for animal sanctuaries, and people could still watch the recording and still donate to the various animal sanctuaries, because it was, it's because of the COVID, and we're trying to raise money for sanctuaries that were hit hard through not being able to do fundraising.
Yeah, we did quite well, I think. Anyway, shall we get on? Shall we get on with the task at hand? So
yes,
we put together a few slides to show you, and this is your first one, and it's you being the badger.
I was the badger. I couldn't see a thing out of that badger costume because the eyes were in the wrong place, so I kind of guessed what I was doing. Thankfully, Louise was with me, and she was able to kind of guide me. That was our local vegan group. That was the very first stall we did, because of course we got the badger cull, the slaughter of badgers going on here in the UK, and it's done at the behest of the dairy industry, and so there's a very strong vegan connection. And we were giving out vegan leaflets at that stall, as well as the information about what people could do about the badger cull. And we actually met quite a few local vegans that we didn't know about, and we got them involved in the group. And so that kind of kicked it off. I think we started it off on Facebook first, and then very soon did this activity. And there's only there's only two of us did that. We didn't need a big crowd of people to do it. It's Louise and I.
That's one of the messages from today, is the fact that you can start small and you can start with few, and as soon as you get more, you can grow. And I mean, for example, this is just one table, right? But once you start adding things like the kind of banners, the thing, hands off our wildlife banner. I mean, those ones, to actually have them made properly that fit to the front of a table is really useful, isn't it? So that they're always useful thing to do,
Yes, yes, you can get them so they fit a table. I'm not quite sure what table that was we used for that event. It might have been just a pasting table.
Yeah, it could have been, they don't last too long.
They don't last very long. They're quite heavy.
Ronnie, why do dairy farmers want to kill badgers?
Right. Well, what it is there's this pretext being used here in the UK that badgers transmit TB to cows, and so the idea is to kill a load of badgers, and then the cows won't get TB, and then the cows won't need to be killed a bit sooner than what they would be killed anyway. Basically,
or not have the dairy industry, and it's not.
Or not have the dairy industry. But you see, the thing is, it's the scientific evidence is contrary to that.
Yeah.
But the real reason that the government's doing it is two reasons. First of all, because sadly, a lot of animal farmers just hate all animals that they can't use to turn a profit from, and so they tend to be kind of wildlife exterminators anyway.
Well, that's where the famous vermin term comes from.
And so they don't like badgers anyway. So of course,
if I can't make use of them, they're vermin.
Yeah, because the government wants the votes. They're traditionally, like farmers are traditionally supporters of the Conservative government here, and so they wanted to kind of keep the farmers happy. That was one reason. The other reason is to do with property development, because badgers are a protected species. They have to get a license to shoot them. It has to be licensed, this cull, but the licenses are really, really easy to obtain. The government's made it easy for anyone to obtain a license now to kill badgers in the areas where they they've got the cull going on. And the other main reason for it is because badgers are a protected species. If anyone wants to do property development, whether it's a housing estate or industrial estate or whatever, where there are badgers, then they have to they can't physically remove the badgers. They've got to kind of entice the badgers away and kind of create somewhere else for the badgers to live and then entice them away. And it can take ages. And we had a development near to us that was held up for a year before the badgers were enticed away. And you know, there was like a badger expert involved in it and everything.
Yeah, they can incorporate badgers anyway, can't they? For example, if they're making a new road, you can have the badger tunnels underneath, so the badgers can still use their traditional kind of routes and everything without any. Yeah,
they can do, but like normally they. And of course, if badgers have been killed through this cull, and they're cleared off the land, then the property developers can they don't have any of that delay, and so it's like, you know, it's more profit, isn't it? And they're handing gloves to government, these people.
I'm just going to put a little lid on that now, Ronnie, because Sky, as usual, went on a tangent. So I'm going to bring us back. I'm going to bring us back to where we're supposed to be. Deb says, "Where did you set up this table?" So this is something that's going to change in terms of where you are in a big city, locally, and obviously country by country, isn't it?
It'd be different. I mean, everything varies country by country. I mean, here in the UK, if you're on land that belongs to local authority and you're not causing an obstruction, then in the vast majority of cases, if you set up a table like that, they won't bother you. I mean, maybe technically against the sort of council bylaws, but they don't really bother to enforce those. So you don't ask for permission, you just go and do it. And out of all the tables, it must be dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of tables we've set up locally. There's only one time that we were asked to move by like somebody employed by the local authority. All the rest of the time.
Same here. It's really. I mean, in some ways, they're actually quite tolerant of NGOs, especially when you tell them that you're volunteers or they can see that. So that brings in a couple of things. First of all, what's the score with you? Can you have a collection box on there?
No, not without a permit. You've got to get a permit from the local authority. And how easy that is to get varies from place to place.
Yeah, the thing is, there's a difference in Ireland, Ronnie. What it is, you can put a collection box on there so long as you don't touch it. So if you pick it up, then that becomes a kind of like a street collection. That's illegal. But if it's static on there, because I remember, Bernie Wright used to have a collection box, and every time they saw the police officer, she would kind of put it underneath real quick. And eventually I said, look, just leave it and see what happens. And nothing happened, because so long as you're not rattling it, which then classifies as a street collection, you're able to do it, especially if another way of getting around things in terms of selling things is not to sell things, but to say we'll accept a donation of 4. And so you say, we'll accept a donation of £1 in your case, or €1 in my case, for a badge, right? And of course, people come up and go, well, I'll donate 10p, and we'll say, well, we'll refuse your donation. So you don't have to accept a donation. So it's not as though anybody can rip you off.
Yes.
So that's one point. The second one is, did you have public liability insurance?
Not at the time, no. They don't insist on public liability insurance just for stalls like that, but we have got public liability insurance. And the reason is because for doing stalls at some other events, they do insist on it. Like mainly like indoor events.
Different parts of Dublin was like that. In some places you had to have it, other places you don't. But if it's cheap enough, and in Dublin, insurance is very expensive. I was told by an insurance person it's because the Irish tend to make a lot of insurance claims, so the premium is quite expensive. Whereas public liability is quite cheap in Britain, as far as I understand. But so I would encourage people, if they can get it, to get public liability insurance, because if a police officer does come up and you flash that goes a long way for them to go, oh, this is grand, right?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've never been asked for that in the street. We have been asked for it. I mean, we do information stalls at things like fundraising events for local dog rescues.
Yeah,
They have this kind of fun dog show.
You need it for that when you're like doing a stall within something, right?
Yeah, you need it for that. Yeah. And you've got to show them.
You need it for Veg Fest and things like that. So, okay, so this is again now. The bottom one is interesting to me because again, what we're dealing with here is just this one table setup. But again, you've got nice posters at the front, make it very visible. And then on the other one, you've started to kind of build on it, which makes it bigger.
Well, in fact, the one in the bottom right corner.
It's easy to make things bigger, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
Small.
The one in the bottom right hand corner is actually more recent. And that was only this Saturday just gone, and that was at there was like in one of the towns we cover. There's a church there that kind of rang the bells out to kind of alert people to the climate crisis. It was to do with, like COP27's going on at the moment, and it was kind of to do with that. Okay. And so there was like an event there with stalls from kind of local environmental organisations, and then
it wasn't to welcome your new king, was it? No.
Well, they're a bit late, aren't they? If they were going to do it to welcome the new king. But that was what that was, and we're members of a local like Green Alliance, which is kind of open doors for us. It enables us to have stalls at various environmental events, and this was one of them. And then there was like a little march around the town afterwards, where people kind of made lots of noise and played musical instruments and things. And that stall. The thing about that stall is like it looks good, but it's already very homespun. You see those where we've got the placards and the posters. Those are all. I made all those, and basically I've got this free program on my computer where you can make big posters by kind of fitting together A4 sheets. It splits like a kind of A1 size or an A2 size into the relevant number of A4 sheets.
Yeah, and then you cover them
like a kind of jigsaw. So you design it. You design the post. You design the poster like as an A4, in a kind of document application, and then you in a word processor thing, and then convert it with the program I've got. You convert it to a JPEG, and then it exports it like as a PDF that can be printed in different sections and fitted together. So all of that, even the banner, the one stuck on the banner, because that was just like a plastic banner that had something else on it, and we kind of used it, stuck those on it, and the placards are the same. So that's that one, and that was kind of the one we did Saturday. The other one, well, that one is from 2019. And that was
it's hard to tell the times with you though, Ronnie, because you've got the same cheesy grin on all the
I have to because I have to do that, otherwise I look miserable. So it's either cheesy grin or miserable old bugger. That's all you get with me.
It's a vegan cheesy grin.
It'd be a vegan. Yeah.
But I think what's important to say right at the start is that this DIY approach is okay. It's not as though anybody's going to kind of go, I'm not going to approach your stall because you've got homemade banners. They don't take any notice of that kind of stuff.
They don't. They kind of don't really know. It's really important to be visual. It's really important to have. And I sometimes see stalls. I see, say maybe pictures on Facebook of people where they've done stalls, and they've got this stall in the street, and you wouldn't know what it was about. They've got a table, and you think, well, how do people come up to that stall? Because there's nothing really attracting the public. There's nothing really saying.
It's got to be visible, hasn't it?
It's got to be visible. And the other thing is you've got to kind of give people something to do, a reason to come to the stall. For instance, on that previous one that was against the badger cull, we had a big sign. I'm not sure it was in the picture that said, there were several signs I think we had that said, please sign our petition to protect the badgers or to save the badgers. You see, so people thought, I'll go to that stall. There's something I can do. I can sign a petition, right? And see on these, you see on the one in the bottom right hand corner, we've got free recipe booklets, you see. And people come up to store, get these nice free recipe booklets. We were actually giving out Christmas recipes on
yeah, I'd rather go for the free booklets and the samples, because I kind of agree with Declan Bowens that a lot of times when people come up and they sign a petition, they almost like go, right, that's me done. I you know.
Yeah, it depends on the subject, because we were doing the badger cull, there kind of wasn't really, you know, much else apart from that. And I kind of do agree with you that and I think people, you know, a lot of vegans do that. I think they sign one of these online petitions. Oh, I've done my bit for the, you know, for animal liberation. I've done my bit for veganism. I've signed.
Yeah, it can be dangerous in that sense.
Yeah, and most of them go nowhere. I mean, the one against the badger cull never went anywhere. But you see, what we were doing with people is once they were attracted to the stall, they were given information about veganism, and they're also given information about, you know, what they could do to actually stop the culling, including getting active, including getting out, like in the field, and actually getting in the way of these people that are shooting the badgers. That, you know, we had all that information, so it was useful in that way. The other one is we had an arrangement with like our local Tesco to do a stall in their foyer of their supermarket, where we would promote their plant-based products, you know, that the plant-based cheese they were selling, and the, you know, the oat
did
milk.
they give you those, or did you have to buy them?
They gave us
a bit of both.
They gave us a voucher to buy themselves. I think it kind of started off, the first time we did it, it was £25. They said, oh, you got £25 voucher to
well, that's not going to go very far, is it?
Well, no, especially as it then got reduced to £15, you see, subsequently. Because what happens is with Tesco now, you know, obviously this is one particular supermarket here in the UK. In other countries they'll have different ones, and they're all different, and not all of them operate the same. But with Tesco, they have someone in Tesco called a community champion, which sounds rather good, doesn't it? Community champion. And they're there to kind of liaise with local community groups, and, you know, so to make Tesco look good, oh, we're supporting these local community groups, aren't we good? Come and buy a load of our stuff. It's a bit like that, you know. But it means that, you know, kind of local community groups are able to kind of have stalls and do promotions and things in Tesco. And they included some, you know, in with that, really. So, I mean, we actually did spend a bit of our own money as well.
You would at the start, but I mean, that'll be okay. But I mean, the real kind of story here is that, you know, vegans have got to kind of think a little bit outside the box, because it's not as though sometimes you might go to a supermarket like this, and it's not as though they might be thinking, well, we don't have facilities for that. You've kind of got to give them an idea, and they oh, I hadn't thought of that, because that's how this came about in a way, wasn't it?
It kind of was just through one of our like one of our members, one of our organisers. He was just got chatting in the Tesco to the person, because he used to hang around the free from aisle advising people. If he saw someone looking at the vegan products, he'd have a chat to them, and
then he started stalking the champion, did he?
He started talking. Well, this community champion came up to him and said, well, what are you doing? Like, you know, what's all this about? And then when he explained, she said, well, why don't you have a stall? Why doesn't your group have a stall? And that's how it started. And we had 5. I mean, we haven't done any now, because it all stopped with the lockdown and the COVID, and we haven't kind of restarted it again as yet. But there was loads of interest, you know, from the public, and people actually went in, because we were giving example, you know, samples of the cheese. But the really interesting thing is that we didn't want it to be just about the food. I mean, Tesco thought it was about the food, because they thought, oh, these people are doing us a favor, they're encouraging people to buy our products, type of thing, you know. So it was like they saw us as a benefit to them, you see. But we didn't want it just to be about the food, so we were actually giving people information about, you know, ethical veganism. And you probably can't see it too clearly, but you see in on the middle of the table, there's like a folder that's open.
Yeah, I see that.
And in front of that folder, we've got something called a wiener. And a wiener is something they put in they put a wiener, they attach this wiener, it's got kind of spikes on it, and they attach it to the nose of a calf, of a sort of newly born calf, so the calf can't suckle from their mother.
His mum, yeah.
You see. And we had an example of that, and we had a poster saying, "This is used to take mothers from their babies. Do you know what it is?" You see, and
yeah, I've got a picture coming up with the same idea where he said, "Do you know what this is?"
Yes,
you know, so
and so that would start a conversation, because we didn't want it to just be about like, oh, this is really like tasty stuff, and you can eat this instead of the
it's kind of
dairy.
like here's your free cheese sample, here's your recipe booklet, and here's your bolt croppers. So off you go.
Well, we kind of and not even the recipe booklets we were giving out had a section in them about, you know, the ethical reasons for veganism.
Yeah.
So they're quite clever, really, because people take them. Oh, it's nice recipes, but they look through it, and there's that section in it. So even that was like, it's like using it.
I'm just going to move on, Ronnie, because
that's an outside store. That's one we did.
So this is where you're getting a bit bigger. This is a gazebo, and
yeah, I mean, we've had the gazebo.
I want to do a poll with the audience. What do you reckon about these legs, people? Come on. You're gonna have to do something about that.
Well, I had to have something to attract people to the stall. You see,
well, a spray on tan or something. A vegan spray on tan might work. I'm going to hide them. I can't stand looking at them.
Well, it was kind of like a warm day in June or something that day. So it's lucky that it's only my legs that you can see, to be honest.
You know these jackets that you all wear. Are they pretty useful then? Do you think?
Yeah, well, yes, because people kind of know sort of who we are.
Have you got stuff on the back?
Yeah, they've got the name of our group, Wild Forest Vegans. It is the name of the group's on the back, and we've got a little badge on the front. And they were really quite cheap to have made. They're just high vis jackets that have got stuff printed on them.
See what happens with these things is you start small, and then new ideas come, and you get bigger and bigger. And then when people get attracted to what it's almost like build it and people will come. Then people will start going, oh, did you know about this? And did you know about that? There's a special offer and all that kind of stuff. And then people will start buying your stuff. And before you know it, you've got a gazebo and you've got different things. Well,
that gazebo only costs 20 quid. I don't know how much. That's probably about $25 and 25 euros or something like that, isn't it? £20. It's cheap.
And it's use it on 2 days of the year when it's not windy.
We used it. I think we've used it about 5 or 6 times this year, but because some of the events that we were due to use it at actually got called off because of bad weather. But we can use that maybe 10 times a year. But
that's like a shower-proof one.
It's just a shower-proof. It's just to protect the stuff. And the thing is, it's like, my tip with gazebos is like a lot of people are attracted to these like push-up gazebos that are easy to assemble.
Yeah,
but they're not. It's not worth getting one unless you get an expensive one. If you get a cheap one, they break ever so easily. And if you're going to get a cheap gazebo, it's better to get one of these kind of self-assembly one where I know it takes a bit longer. You've got to slot, all the poles are numbered and you've got to slot them into each other. But once you get used to it, I can get that up in no time just myself.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
And everything is fold down. So everything here will fit into a car, won't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that folds
if 3 people could take all this lot on a bus, probably.
They probably could if they didn't have to. It's just getting to places. I mean, this was what they call a fun dog show for a local dog rescue, and it was like in like a kind of out of town country type location, so it would have been probably quite difficult to get there on public transport. But like other places, you can. If it needn't be necessarily barred to doing things completely just because people haven't got their own vehicle, and it obviously does help when you've got a lot of stuff to take.
Well, apart from the legs, I'm very impressed by that, Ronnie. So this is changing tack now. So we're talking, this is door dropping, right?
Yeah. But basically, it's just and it's something we can do here in the UK. Maybe not so easy in other countries. I know it's something that's probably difficult in the USA, where I think the federal government owns the letterboxes or something, or the postal company I think owns the post boxes. But here in the UK, people have letterboxes. They have like flaps in their door, or they have a box on the wall of the house.
Well, if you're in North America, you just need to get a paper round, stick all your leaflets in it, and then throw
them on people's drives. You might. I mean, I don't know whether you could go on someone's property and put a leaflet on the porch of their house, or you could put them under the wipers of the car. Maybe it could only probably do that in good weather, but that's maybe another way of doing it. I don't know what the legality of any of that is, but like here it's easy because you can do this door dropping. And this was quite recently, and what's interesting, I think on like one of our previous shows, we had one saying, leaflets are no good, you can't make people go vegan by leaflets, it's only documentaries that turn people vegan. Remember that comment from someone?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Well, this here is proof, because my friend in the picture, Judy, she lives in the same village as me. We live in a village where there's like, I don't know, I think a couple of thousand people live here. And she and her whole family went vegan after I put a leaflet through a letterbox. And now she's an activist, and now she delivers leaflets herself. And other members of her family do as well at times. So that's, that one leaflet I put through their letterbox turned 4 people vegan.
Well, that's pretty good. Have you seen this, Ronnie? Somebody's trying to ruin everything for everybody. They want you to wear shorts, not just shorts.
Well, I could wear a mankini, couldn't I? What I was thinking.
No, let's not go there. I'm going to
especially printed mankini and get the vegan, go vegan on it, and go vegan, or else I'll take this off. Something like that. So
this is some door dropping that I did. Last week, and so the day that I injured my leg.
You injured your leg door dropping?
No, it seized up. I don't know why it was. But it was on the way. It was on the way back from this. But
what you've got to be careful of, though.
Yeah.
And going back to that previous picture, people will be wondering why Judy, my friend,
the sticks,
why she's holding a stick. Why I'm holding a wooden spoon. And the reason you do that is you use those to push the leaflets through the letterbox, because you have these dogs that lurk silently to bite you. And I've been bitten before I started. I don't always use a spoon. Sometimes I use a stick, but like the other day when I was doing it,
to open the letterbox fully and then you put it through, or do you actually push the leaflet in?
You sort of fold the leaflet over the stick,
push it in. Okay,
and then you push it through.
Right.
Because the other day I had a Jack Russell Terrier. There was a sign on the door saying "Feisty Jack Russell lives here," and I thought, right, kind of took note of that. When I pushed the leaflet through with my stick, the Jack Russell grabbed hold of the stick and wrenched it out of my hand. And if that had been my finger, then that would have been quite nasty. And I've been bitten a few times. So I thought, right, I'm not having that anymore. I'm getting a stick. When the dogs bark, they're a barky dog, there's a barky dog. I need to be a bit careful with this leaflet. But the worst ones are the silent ones. Some dogs lurk silently.
Now, listen, Ronnie, this is supposed to be a very positive session.
Yeah. No, I'm being positive.
Listen, people, there's no danger in putting
it's never so easy to avoid. If you get a stick, the most you're going to lose is your stick, right?
But don't use anything which is part of your body.
Don't use any part of your body to push it through. No matter what length that might be.
That's the main thing.
But it's really important advice to do that, and it makes it easier to get the thing through the letter. Because some of these letterboxes, they've got the draft excluders and things on.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's right. They kind of
it can hurt your finger.
Almost like got 2 letterboxes. One's behind.
And so it can hurt your fingers putting it through.
Yeah,
so the sticks, use the stick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. I haven't used a stick yet, and I haven't encountered a dog yet. But
you need to though.
I think
it's only a matter of time, Roger.
I do have a supply of wooden spoons, so I think I'll have to.
A wooden spoon.
I'll have to go for that.
Yeah.
So this is let me just change that. This is Vigo, Vegan Education on the Go. So this is the group. Well, actually, this is a cheap photograph because this is actually a VIP photograph. But this is the kind of size that Vigo started with. So this is the group that is run out of the Back into Daylight Animal Sanctuary. And so we again talking about a very small kind of fold down table. Declan, about 2013, when we started VIP, he started Vigo, and he couldn't get anybody to go out on the street with him, so he did it himself. Put it on Facebook, and then the next week somebody turned up, and then it grew pretty quick. And then to give you an example of the kind of size, now this is what we now call Vegan Street. So if you look at all the banners and posters going into the distance, that's the vegan banners. So people have to walk past all of those. And on this particular location, because this is in central London, in fact, this is en route between two famous streets in Dublin. And so we did a count one day, and over 5 hours, 13,500 people passed this place, going one way or the other. And that doesn't include people, because there's a whole bunch of bus stops and stuff on the other side that you can't see. And so there's a big exposure, and again, visibility. We've actually known people who have seen it on the bus and jumped off the bus to come and say hello, or to get a few things. So visibility is a big thing.
Yeah.
This is on the other side of the same location. Again, you know, a long kind of visible kind of situation. These are a mixture of the professionally made banners, which are I think about 7 feet tall, probably not quite that tall, but yeah, that's right, they are up there when you're doing it. Yeah, so they are quite tall. And then the other ones are the same routine that you just mentioned, Ronnie, which is Declan has an A3 photocopier, and so he makes them up in 4 pieces, I think, in order to make that size. Yeah. And then you stick them together and to make them weatherproof. Now, in terms of money, it does make them weatherproof, and they do last for months and months and months, but they don't last as long as the printed ones because they're totally weatherproof. So it doesn't matter. They can be out in the rain for hours, and they're not going to be affected. So eventually, when groups do get a bit of money, it is quite useful for them to, as it were, scale up a little bit. This is looking the other way now, back down towards the actual stalls. So behind it is the run of posters, and this is where you've got the screen. And so the cage thing is one of those ones that come out, go into supermarkets off a lorry. We acquired one of those, and there's a multi-story car park around the corner. So we negotiated for €200 a year. We were able to chain up our cage, which meant that we didn't have to carry it anywhere. So we would arrive in the vans, transfer it into the cage, and then bring it round to the bank. This is a bank that's closed on a Sunday, and then we use the cage for the screen. This is a special matte screen, so it's a bit more expensive, but it means that there's no glare to it, so it doesn't matter if the sun is directly on it. Another good thing about this, you'll see that there's an ATM there to the right. And so when you've got a queue of people at the ATM, the only thing they've got to look at is the screen. And so that's what they do. You get a lot of people doing that. And then the other side is another ATM. So the bank entrance is in the middle, as it were. And Declan likes a lot of quotes. And again, you'd get a queue of people, and they're reading the quotes as they go. So that's a pretty effective way of doing things. These 4, I'm not going to go through. They're just, again, an indication of the kind of size of it. So as I said, we call it Vegan Street. You can see on the top right, though, that there's banners on the other side as well, on the big pillars of the bank. And so people actually go through a little tunnel, as it were, and you've got vegan stuff on both sides. So it's very, very visible, this. But it took a long time and many months for this to develop. So it starts off as the fold-down table. And then, you know, obviously having your own vehicles is useful. And when we started VIP, I had a car, but we ended up busting the car because of the weight of the stuff in the end, and we actually broke the car. So we had to buy a van. Now, the great thing about that is that we bought a van from the animal sanctuary. So we were able to get ourselves a van and also support the animal sanctuary at the same time, which was great. I think I'll just gloss over this, but this is 2013 when we both started, and this is before things like AV. This is 3 years before AV, and there was a thing called pay-to-view going on and what you would do is you would pay somebody €1 to watch a 5-minute film. And so that was a big thing that was going on in the States. They had all these vans going around with lots of different screens. So we did a kind of DIY version of that. This was very successful in Britain. It was after Earthlink Experience started, but it was before AV. But these things were very good, and people used to just sit, and we'd make these boxes to kind of darken the screen. So it's just normal kind of laptops. In terms of power, what you would need then is something like a lorry or a tractor battery attached to something called an inverter, which creates AC power, which you can just plug in like a normal plug. So you've got to do a little bit of that, and that they can be a bit expensive. But again, it's really kind of beg, steal, and borrow at the stage, And again, what you tend to get is when people come and they see this and they know what plans there are, the next minute somebody will turn up and say, here's 200 quid, go and get yourself an inverter, that kind of thing. So this is the VIP, switching to that. And so we ended up with a 2 gazebo setup. So these are actually industrial weatherproof gazebos with, as it were, proper kind of walls and stuff and the back thing and all that kind of stuff. So these are much more substantial. They don't get blown away, but you still have to weigh them down. But we had 6 meters by 3 meters of space in the end. And so we used to have a lot of things. We had the samples in there. We had posters. We had literature. We had a screen now and again. And then the thing to the right there, you might just see, well, far right with the chairs, that's the tea station, where people used to sit down and we would give them a free cup of tea and everything, and they would often read the leaflets. That's a great thing about a tea station, is the fact that people would take the leaflets from you, they'd sit down, have a cup of tea, and they would read the leaflets. And you'd go, wow, we actually know that this person has, as it were, consumed the leaflets rather than just taking them away. So that was really, and then kind of left of the tea station there, that's what was called the Anarchist T-shirt store. And so a couple of people would make T-shirts there and then on the spot for people. So we would go around all the charity shops and we'd get all the plain T-shirts, which were about €1 each. And then these people would make up stencils and stuff. So people could come along and ask for their own, so they would end up with a unique shirt, essentially, which was a very kind of popular thing. So again, it's very kind of DIY culture. This is at the top of a place called Grafton Street. There's a tram track where this is again. But again, we talk about the size of it, very kind of visible. Immediate at the front left, that's the tea station again. Somebody, the guy there, Daniel, he's talking to somebody, a member of the Vegan Curious. So we've actually had people become vegan activists from sitting at our tea station. It's a really good outreach way. The reason I included this one is the fact that you'll see that we've got a Why Vegan sign, and you can see that there's a little bit of water damage. And so that, again, is one of those things that once a group gets established, if you're going to use kind of banners like this, the best thing to do is have them done properly, so you don't get this problem. Of course, it doesn't take much to redo these. It's just that it's a bit of a pain to be doing it all the time. So there's a lot of kind of maintenance, if you like. So again, this is the anarchist thing on the right, and then the cheese samples with the recipe of the ingredients, that kind of stuff. And then this one goes back to one thing you said. You see there, you've got the glove for the artificial insemination. You've got the artificial insemination rod, the one that is put into the vagina of the cows. And then above the hand, as it were, of the glove, you can see a metal spiked wiener that you were talking about.
Mm.
Yeah. And this is really vicious little thing. And you'll see there that I think there might be no, it's probably not there now, but we do have a little sign saying, do you know what this is?
Mm.
And then the shock prod is for moving so-called livestock around. So we call it tools of injustice. Farmers would come up and go, well, it's actually humane to use these shock sticks. And we said, why is that then? And they say, well, if we didn't, we'd have to hit them with sticks, wouldn't we? And so that's their attitude. Where, you know, they've got to be moved around, and so therefore it's better just to give them a quick thing. So there's our badges. That's it's good to get yourself a badge making machine. Again, what you could do is you don't sell them, but you can say we'll accept a donation. So that's how you get around that. And then again, a selection of our literature. Again, what you've got there is a mixture of stuff that we made ourselves and a mixture of stuff from, say, London Greenpeace, but also Go Vegan World. There's a couple of Vegan Society things. I think we cut the Vegan Society logo off, I think. But what I'm saying is, again, because I think the next slide, we made a display. Now this is an interesting thing, because you've got a sign saying they're all free, please to help yourself, and you situate this away from the place, a little bit removed, because some people are a bit shy to come to the stall, and so if this is like 5 meters away, they'll come up, and what we notice is that they'll just take things that they're interested in. It doesn't matter about the quality, you know, so it doesn't have to be full color, doesn't have to be professionally produced. A lot of people actually like these kind of DIY type things. And that brings us to the zines, which I was showing Ronnie before we came on air. So here I've got a mini zine, which we used to give away. So this actually is a A4 piece of paper, okay, with a split in it. So when you fold it, it makes a little booklet. And so you've got love is, and then you open it this way, and it tells a story, other pages, and then that's the halfway through page. And then what you do then is you open it out and fold it over, and then you fold it again, and then you do the rest of the story. So it opens out. And so these are very popular. So a lot of people love zines. So this is a mini zine, and the ones that are in the pictures are larger, but it's the same effect. So if people are into zines, then these are really, really popular. And of course, it's very DIY. And again, people don't care about that. They're not thinking, oh, I'm not going to take that because it's not glossy, you know. In fact, nowadays, you get a lot of people coming up. If you've got a glossy leaflet, they're kind of asking you about the ink and the environmental impact and this kind of stuff. So, you know, there's all that kind of issue. Just having a quick look at the time. As I said, this is just one little slide about the Earthling experience in Dublin. They would want to break a few rules, being based in Ireland, but also the idea of you don't have to wear a mask. You can have a variety of films being shown. We used to have British footage, but we also used to have Irish footage. We'd have some things which were graphic, other things that were kind of pleasant, and those kind of things. So again, you can kind of play around with this and be flexible. You don't really have to follow any rules, so it's to do with the kind of initiative and a bit of nous, really, whether you know, in terms of whatever you're doing, I think. Right, I think that's the end of that. Oh, I wanted to show this as well. So this is where an event like Ronnie do, and that we've done Vigo and his VIP, can marry in really well with something like Save. So these pictures here are from a Save, which was from a slaughterhouse, which is about 20 miles north of Dublin. Okay. And of course, you often get that thing, oh, it doesn't happen here, and all this kind of stuff, which is exactly why we've chosen the slogans on this. People in Ireland, for example, when they learned that there was fur farms in Ireland, they were almost like, surely there's no fur farms, not in Ireland. You know, is it kind of like, they almost couldn't believe it type issue. And so again, you think, well, there are houses of slaughter in Ireland as well. The place is dotted with houses of slaughter. And so you take pictures of it. And then, so we made this big banner. This, again, is one of the 7-foot ones. This is going back to 2018. And again, it was a great conversation starter because, as we know, Ronnie, what are the two questions that people ask? When was that and where was that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They always ask that. And so if you've got up-to-date stuff and it's local stuff, as it were, or at least in the same country, That makes a big difference, because they can't go, oh, that was ages ago, so therefore everything has changed. Or they also can't go, well, that's somewhere else, which is one of the ways that people kind of try to kind of minimize what's going on. They do that all the time. So what I'd suggest in terms of these kind of events is that I personally don't think there's any point in going to a save every week, because that's very traumatic for the actual people doing it. But certainly, maybe once every 8 months to get some new photographs. The ironic part of that is that we could just alter the date on this banner and use the same pictures, and nobody would know. Because if you went and got some pictures, it would look exactly the same. And this is why, if you notice with all the save pictures for years and years and years, you've got the pictures of the pig's eyes, you've got the pictures of the calves, you've got pictures of the adult cows, in this case, staring out between the slats. And they all look the same, because the system is the same. It's a globalized system, which incidentally gives a lie to all that stuff about, well, our welfare is better than everybody else. The British farmers say that, as you know, Ronnie. The Irish farmers say that. The New Zealand farmers say that. The thing about that lie is that it couldn't be true, even if they wanted it to be true, because that would mean then that they would have to stand outside of a globalized system. And that would mean that all their costs would skyrocket. So they actually couldn't do it, even if they wanted to,
That's very true. I mean, it's interesting because there's the contrast between, because what you were doing there is in the big city, so you've got more space to spread out, more space for the placards and the different stalls.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
we've taken that to Cork, but that's another big city in Ireland, you see.
Yeah. You see, if in a big city you can kind of do that, and what tends to kind of happen mainly in the centre of big cities are the events using the screens. The AV. We the Free Now. There's other groups, and I think that's great. I think it's great that those things are taking place, and it's absolutely certain that a lot of people have become vegan because of those events, and that's brilliant. But we need to be thinking about other ways of doing it sometimes. And you've given an example of another way of doing it in a big city, where you've got a kind of big display, you've got big gazebos and stuff like that. And kind of, so where I am is like a kind of smaller. I mean, our group covers one medium-sized town and two small towns in the area, and a few villages. So for us to have a massive thing like that, there isn't the space, and so you kind of you tailor, you set up
down, don't you? You fit it. So you need to have a flexible system, don't you?
Yeah, you tailor you set up to the geography. But I think the problem we've got is that there are so many towns, so many suburbs of cities, because a lot of suburbs of cities have got places where people could do stalls. There's shopping centres. There's spaces there people could set up a stall. And then you've got towns, even the villages, and so little outreach takes place in anywhere other than the centre of big cities.
And that's where the small stalls, the easy stuff,
the small
is
stalls,
best, isn't it?
And the door dropping on housing estates, and the small, doing stalls at community events, organising. We've done things like kind of organised a vegan cookery demonstration at it was at a church hall, and the whole of the estate round there, we door dropped them about this. There's a vegan cookery event, and it was really popular. A lot of people came along to it, and then they got given the information about ethical veganism and everything, as well as the recipes, as well as sampling the food. So that there are these small events people can organise themselves. They can have stalls at other events. We have stalls at health events.
Yeah, well, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes left, Ronnie. So I want you to talk about a couple more things that we haven't mentioned.
Yes.
Well, first of all, the idea of the quiet vegan. I mean, I think that they can do door dropping, don't you? But also,
yes, I do.
Think about libraries, but I also want you to talk about letter writing as well.
Yeah, we had someone worried and said, "Oh, what happens if someone comes out of the house and has a go at me if I'm door dropping?" And I kind of said, "Well, if you're really worried, just say, well, look, I'm just delivering these. You know, I work for a delivery company or something." I mean, I know that's a bit of a cop out, but if someone's like really nervous, they can kind of say that to get out of having to kind of argue with some lunatic that comes out. But that very rarely happens. I found on door dropping, you very rarely get any confrontation with people at all. You know.
No, I mean, because people are used to people doing
they're used
that. Anyway,
they're used to stuff being delivered. Yeah. If people don't want to do that, or in addition to doing that stuff like, I mean, I always have vegan leaflets with me when I'm out and about, and I'll leave them on public transport. I leave them on the seats of a train I'm on, or on a bus, or in a library. I'll leave them around, like on tables. I'll maybe put them in relevant books.
You're a serial litterer, really, aren't you? You're just a litter bug.
Yeah, just a leaflet litterer. Any waiting room that you're in, you can leave them. You know, there's lots of ways to think. Always, how can I, just going about in my everyday life, how can I spread the message, even if someone's shy about talking to anyone, or and I think if people are shy, that, you know, go kind of join an existing group and kind of just, you know, stay in the background and see how they do things, and get a bit of confidence up, and then, you know, you'd eventually be able to do it yourself. I mean, we've had people like that in our group, that's how they kind of got involved in, actually, and then they were eventually able to kind of get involved in conversations with people.
So just what about the letter writing then?
Letter writing. Well, this is another thing that's kind of overlooked, is local newspapers. You see, local newspapers, they're not as popular as they used to be, because the internet. Well, I don't think, you know, lots of people read their news online.
You see, that's the interesting thing in it, because a local newspaper in a small place was probably more popular than in a city, and so again, it would the quiet vegans, but also the small groups, wouldn't it?
Thousands of people still read them, and one of the most popular pages that people read in a local newspaper is letters page. So get letters in there promoting veganism, and kind of how we do it is we scan the local paper for any article that we could kind of hang a vegan letter on, you know, and there's been quite a lot about the climate, and so that can come in there. Anything really. There was one about like a sheep that got trapped in a hedge and all that. You know, so you get stuff like that in local papers, and, you know, how
a man gets trapped in a badger suit and can't get out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Now, what's your P's and Q's now, Ronnie? Because we're bringing the boss on now.
Oh, blimey!
I didn't know you were coming. I like how you surprised me.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm not going to go thumbs up and all that malarkey. No.
Yeah, well, I try to be a gracious host.
Carry on, Ronnie. You got a minute.
Well, I'm saying it's like if anyone can do it. It's really important that we have as much vegan outreach as often as possible, in as many places as possible. And I'd say to all vegans listening that you can be the instigator of that. You can be the person that gets that going. Right, you can just do it yourself. Get some leaflets from somewhere. Get yourself a stick and do some door dropping, you know, or do some, you know, even give leaflets out on the street, leave them around in public places, or organise a little information. There's lots you can do on your own, and it's better to do it. It's better to just say, "Well, I'm doing that."
I can imagine the news report. You know, there is a stick shortage. Those bloody
stick shortage. Yeah, there's a shortage of wood because there's always people doing door dropping. And it's like build it and they will come. Rather than kind of waiting for a load of people to come along and sitting around in a committee meeting.
It's a question of being a bit bold and get yourself out there.
Yeah, just do it, and eventually, like other people will join you.
Well, welcome to Still Alive. I hope you're as live as we're feeling. And do you want to explain to people how they can jump onto your thing now?
Yes, all you have to do is if you're on any of the if you're on Roger Yates' channel, you want to hop over to Vegan, of course. If you're on Twitch, you could stay where you are. If you are on the Vegan Review, you could stay where you are. You'll see another live pop up. Today we have Mark Saunders on. We're going to talk about men's health. Today's health day. We do nutrition and health on Mondays. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. It's really important that you subscribe. I was thinking about what Ronnie was saying with the quiet vegan doing the leafleting, the pamphleteering. I liken it to when if you love a band in high school, I would have like these bands that I wasn't part of the band, but they just needed to get the word out that they're doing a show. And you would put those. I would put them between the beers at the station, at the gas station. I'd put little flyers between the beers. I do everything I could just to let people know that there was a punk show going on, and because people don't know, how else are you supposed to get the word out? And it's fun because it's if you feel like kind of like a little spy doing it. You're not out there in people's faces. It's super easy. You're almost like I don't know. You're sneaking around. It's fun.
I like this comment, 40-year-old vegan, about euphoria, because you do feel good after doing something active. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of good for your mental health, I think, to actually do something like that. And so, yeah.
And you needn't have like a graphics degree either. You could take a Sharpie and write what you want down, draw a little picture. A cow is a box with 4 legs and another box as a head. Like, you don't need much.
It's a very important message that people don't expect you to, like you say, have a degree in graphic design and all that. They're quite happy to take something which might, on the face of it, look amateurist. We've never noticed anybody caring about that kind of thing.
Yeah, I did that video about like the 6 things you can learn from Republicans, and they have no shame. They don't care. They'll go out with a sign completely misspelled. Like, how many times it's almost become like a meme where showing right-wing people with misspelled signs. They don't care. They don't care that you think it's funny.
If you have a sign which is totally not misspelled, you must expect it's a lefty infiltrator.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Somebody that's got a brain cell, in other words.
Well, at least he's studied, didn't it? I used to have a friend from London. Well, he studied, didn't it?
Well, folks, we're 2 minutes over. So, Ronnie, thank you as ever for your insights and your stuff. And Sky, I hope you have a good one.
Yes, thanks, gents. I appreciate you. And I'm going to get my other show started. So thanks, guys.
Yes, indeed. And so we're going to say goodbye, and Sky's going to say hello. So there you go.
Take care, folks.
Yeah. Goodbye, people.